I mean, I don't love renting houses.
Got it.
Mostly
Okay.
just because it's kind of a hard thing to do. You
Yeah.
know, if someone leaves, you got to find a new renter. You're still paying that mortgage. I'd like
Yeah.
to do it more with, say, like apartments where you got 10
sure.
apartments. If you get somebody that leaves, you still got 9 other people that are paying that for you.
Yep.
So I mean, I haven't really gotten to the house renting part of it, but
Got it.
so yeah, mostly just selling specs and stuff like that. And
I love it.
yeah,
That is so cool.
It's been fun, dude. It's been kind of a dream come true for me, other than wanting to be, you know, like a professional athlete.
Right.
It was never going to happen for me, so it's a good fallback.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's not an easy thing to do either. Like the development world, dealing with the cities, dealing with all the trades, getting it actually done. It's a very complicated thing to do.
You're telling me, and that, I mean, that can kind of bring us into one thing I wanted to talk to you about was cities in general, because like, I mean, I don't know where you are at with cities, but
They're a pain.
me
all
and
the
government,
time.
yep, I can't stand it, and
Yeah.
I think they're the biggest reason why it's so hard to make affordable houses.
Interesting.
So,
Okay.
let me give you an example.
Yeah.
I tracked down some land. I'm not going to say the city's name because I said
Yeah,
that
we
some
probably
stuff
shouldn't. Yeah.
working through there. But it was a good parcel, and I could get 4 houses on it. It's zoned currently for 5 acres. It's not 5 acres. It's way less than that.
Got
But
it.
it's zoned A5, which is 5-acre lots.
Got it. Yep.
And so I went in there, you know, like, hey, obviously it's got to be rezoned because it's not even 5 acres as it is.
Right.
Here's my idea. I came up with this hammerhead, if you know what a hammerhead street is.
Yep.
Had 4 houses on there. This parcel's between a really busy road, a commercial property, and then there's this parcel of land, and then there's a bunch of like houses.
Got it.
And the lots were like 0.24, like almost a quarter acre is what I'd come up
Good
with.
size,
give or
especially
take.
for new developments.
Yeah, exactly. And so I went to the city thinking like, hey, here's a great opportunity. This city's, I mean, I grew up there, and it's kind of priced everybody out.
Yep.
I live there because it's way expensive.
Right.
I'm sure you could
5
probably
acres.
piece together which city
Yeah,
that I'm probably
yeah.
talking about. And so I'm like, hey, you know, went to the planning director, and I said, hey, this is a good opportunity to get some like more, I want to say affordable houses, but some smaller houses in here that some younger couples might be able to stay in the city they grew up in and not have to move somewhere else. And so the planning director was like, yeah, I don't hate it. We'd prefer something different, but I don't hate it. And I was like, cool, like maybe this is actually something that could work. And he ended up going to the mayor and some city council people who were just like, no, we don't want that. We want 1 house there. And I'm just like, this is like so stupid because all these cities cry about having affordable houses, yet a quarter-acre house or quarter-acre lot was too small for what they wanted. And it's like, how do you build affordable houses when your land costs are astronomical?
Yeah.
You know, because you got sellers of land who are trying to, or who think it's 2021 still.
Right.
And, you know, they want top dollar for
Yep.
stuff, or they're not going to sell. And so the only way to try to mitigate that is get more houses on it. But the
And the
city-
reality is those sellers of land, anyone that still holds the land and hasn't lost it, they're in a patient position. Everyone knows, if you know anything about real estate in Utah, the land value is not going down.
Oh, yeah, no, it's
You know,
finite,
it's
right?
like,
Yeah, we're running out. I mean, not running out of it, but like.
Right. But I
it's-
mean, in the valley, we are, right? I mean, there's only a couple little swaths of land left, which is crazy. So your big argument there, I was really curious to understand what you meant, because I've heard that concept that cities are responsible for the unaffordability, yet they're the ones preaching for we need affordability. You think the big issue is not the bureaucracy of the process, or maybe that's part of it,
That's
but
part
more.
of it. I mean, we could get into that part too, but
Yeah.
I think just like land costs are so expensive, and they're just not willing to. It's just always
the
not in my
density.
backyard, right?
Yeah,
we're not
right.
doing this in my backyard. It's cool if this city has smaller lots, but we're not doing it in our city. And I just think it's just a big problem, at least as to what I've run into.
And it is, what I think about. So I agree. And I think from our perspective, because I've done some development myself too, and I think from our perspective, we're the entrepreneurs feeling like we're taking risk. We're trying to create a vision, and it's something that makes sense. But you've got the city people that are engineers and, really just kind of following the letter of the law. Oftentimes, and I think this is the case in virtually every circumstance, everyone has a good intent. We have a good intent. We don't want a sloppy looking city or a sloppy looking infill development. So it's like this balance, what I find, where the cities become challenging. To your point, it does rely heavily on density and kind of finding a price that works for buyer and seller. Mm-hmm. But it's like this vision of what you want the city to be. How does that mesh with reality? And what's been crazy, and I agree with you, I've literally sat in city meetings for my own developments where they've said, I don't care if this land sits there for another 20 years. And I'm thinking, yeah, you don't, because you're not writing the check for the land every month, right? You didn't write the 100 some odd thousand or million some odd dollars of money to buy the land and take the entrepreneurial risk. And it does suck because they can handcuff a developer. There's like 1,000 different ways they can handcuff a developer.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Which is insane. Yep. And there's a lot of backdoor deals that I see happening inside of government.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's developments that'll just go through no problem. I'm thinking, wait a minute, how did that happen? Like,
yep. Who do you know? Who do you have? You know, it's interesting too that you say that. So I don't. You live around here, right?
I live I live in Draper.
You live
now.
in Draper. Okay,
yep.
So I live in Draper too.
Oh, cool.
So in dealing, it's just interesting. I don't want to keep like name dropping cities, but like to your point of like backdoor deals and stuff getting done. So I had a friend, a guy who develops land that I, kind of will throw me raw land that he finds that he doesn't want. He was telling me a story about how in one of these cities in this valley that they went through this whole process. They went through the planning commission. They had everything approved. The planning commission was more than happy to recommend this being done on this thing of land. And the city council showed up, and apparently there were a few people within the city who had some weight to throw around. Said, we don't want that there. And so after this friend of mine had spent, $50,000-$60,000 getting plans put together, getting everything, written up.
And probably a year.
Yep. City council just like, nope, sorry, we're done. We're not going to do that. So he just loses out on $60,000. And it's just kind of what you said. They're like, we're not going to have this here. We don't want it.
At some point, he's got to recapitalize that $60,000. So the land just became $60,000 more expensive. It is crazy. And I don't know what the solution is, because there does have to be a balance, because there's a lot of developers that won't consider I'm even guilty of it. I like when the city zooms out and they're like, well, this is how it relates to this part of the master plan long-term in 40 years. And I'm like, oh, okay, then now it kind of makes sense. But it definitely, the pendulum will swing too far in the city's direction oftentimes. And I feel like as business people and entrepreneurs, we'll look at this and we can navigate the issues. So it's like if we see the vision, we're not bullheaded chumps. We're like, oh, okay, I get it. So what if we did this and this and this and create it? But the city doesn't seem to reciprocate that creativity. They're like, well, these are the rules. You just let us know what you want to do. And it's like, okay, so I'll go spend another $50,000 to bring another idea that may or may not work.
Yeah, dude, no, you're hitting it on the head right there.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. And I don't, like I said, I don't know what you do. And I think the problem too is that like cities, I don't want to bash on cities, but like, none of them are really held accountable, or there's no incentive for them to get something done. Right? You go to a city engineer.
And there's no recourse for us.
Exactly.
If it's going too long, what do you do?
And the crazy thing is, so they've started like passing laws. I don't know if you follow much of Utah government and stuff like that.
Some of it, yeah.
But they've started passing laws where, like, for example, cities have 2 weeks now to get a building permit out. Thinking that this would be great because cities would sit on building permits for months. It would take forever. And now it's they're supposed to get them out within 2 weeks. And I've heard that some of these cities are, to get around that, just stamping stuff up, saying, yep, good to go, here you are. And then as soon as the builder will start breaking ground, they'll come out and say, oh, we're out of compliance on this, so we're going to have to stop you.
Oh, interesting.
Yep, and in fact, there was actually a big meeting down in Utah Valley with a former attorney from the ombudsman.
Okay, yeah.
Trying to figure out how to hold these municipalities a little more accountable to follow the rules that are in place. And
I've noticed, because I've got some active developments myself right now, and what I have noticed is once some of that legislation passed, which was last session, right, they essentially front-loaded everything. So, which is, it's great because you have a development once you get through a certain part of the process, whereas previously it was still kind of up in the air. But now you're basically, before you even know if you have a development, you're at final plat. So they front loaded all the cost, all the risk, all the waiting period. And so that's actually maybe worse than it was before. It didn't solve, like, yes, you wanted permits faster, but not at the expense of having to just front load even more risk before you even knew if there was a viable deal, which is crazy. Yeah, so that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how you solve it, because I mean that's just one of the factors that goes into affordability from my perspective. I mean, you talk to people or you follow social media, and it seems like, you know, builders get called bad guys, and it's like that's not necessarily the case. There's a lot of different variables. I brought some budgets that we can talk about at some point.
We should talk about that. I'm curious from your perspective, because it probably ties perfectly into these budgets. And I'm sure we'll have some more tactical look at, like, commodity costs just keep going up, and labor costs basically have just continued to go up. I don't know that ever ends. And it might even get worse now with some of the political things happening and deportations and stuff. Like, that could create even more expensive labor. So that doesn't seem like a solution, but I'm curious from your perspective, just to kind of pivot from the first part of the conversation to maybe diving into that, is, like, you've obviously been successful for years now putting decent sized projects together. So how are you navigating this, and how are you finding success? Like, are you just throwing in do you know when to throw in the towel and move from a development, or are you just, how are you making these work?
Gosh, how to make them work is the golden question, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, I have to rely a lot on the planning department of these cities, and like just getting from them, like, do you really think that this is going to go through? And then I found that talking to a lot of the neighbors around the development, like, is really good at this. So they'll go into, you know, a city and say, this is what we want to do. And they will go, and I don't know if they're paying people, I don't know what they're doing, but they're really good at getting people on their team to, you know, push a development.
Oh, so just door to door
going around
missionary
saying,
work.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Right.
Yep. And just saying, hey, like, this is what we're looking to do. Do you have any thoughts on it? And I found that in a development that I did a couple of years ago, there was a guy who was on the planning commission who was very against what we wanted to do. And he was trying to get people to, and it was weird because we weren't rezoning anything, like we were putting what they wanted there. But this guy had a reason for not wanting to have something there. And so, you know, I was able to go to him and say, hey, you know, what if we do something? And it goes back to your working backdoor deals with people, where we kind of put together something where he got a little part of something to get the development in, and suddenly everybody was on our team, and it went through perfectly. And so,
isn't it funny? Every world, even building and developing, which just seems like you're moving dirt and throwing up sticks, is a people business.
It is, yep.
Which is nuts. The success in anything, lending, real estate, building and developing, it's crazy. It's all about just pleasing.
Yeah, it's just
the
people. Yep. It's negotiating your way through literally everything, and
that's crazy.
It's insane how it goes, but.
That's wild. So tell me, you brought the budgets.
So I brought some budgets, because I wanted to show you. I mean, like I said, if you get on social media and everybody blames builders, right? Oh, they're hiking up prices, and I'm sure in some cases that's the case. But the market,
and it certainly happened during COVID.
Absolutely,
it was opportunistic,
absolutely,
up 10% for no reason.
But you know, you're like, okay, you got money in here. All the houses around you are going up. Like, are you going to be the idiot that's going to keep yours way low, or are you just going to follow what everybody else is doing? So I'm sure there were some cases where obviously, you know, builders were hiking stuff up. But for the most part, like, okay, so I brought some budgets here. One, it's the same house plan, but I built them 5 years apart.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I just like the rough plumbing. So 5 years ago, I paid for rough plumbing, which is, you know, after you frame it, plumber comes in and they put in
and all that stuff.
Cost $4,754. You're like, okay, well, that's not horrible. It still feels like a lot.
And it's normally about 50% labor, 50% material, right?
Yep, give or take. Yep. So today, well, this was about a month ago, that price has risen to $7,197.
Wow.
So it's like a 50% increase. And you're thinking, like, you know, people could say, like, oh, that's not that much. Dude,
that's like a 70% increase.
So, like, it's crazy. And I mean, so, you know, you have what? How many people touch a house? 70-something subs coming through. And if everybody, you know, raises their prices 70%, like,
the house is 70% more.
70% more, right? And it's like, so people sit there and say, yo, these builders are hiking up prices, and it's like not necessarily the case. We're just trying to stay on top of what's happening with
that's not even an option. That's like you can't build the house without it.
Exactly, right?
That's
it's
crazy.
Not, and so, like, it's just nuts what's happening out there. And like you said, you know, as labor, you know, deportations happen, and I'm all for, you know, Americans getting American jobs.
100%, yep.
So I'm all for that, but that's not going to solve your your
could worsen
labor
this.
crisis.
There will be
Yeah,
some issues.
and tariffs. I don't know how that will affect things.
Have you seen that affect anything on materials?
So in my perspective, small amounts, but it feels like a lot of people are kind of using it as an excuse, right? Oh,
The
tariffs,
opportunistic
yep,
like hike.
tariffs are in. Oh, this is going to be more expensive.
Dude, I've even heard some suppliers say, because the tariffs are announced, we're increasing prices on stuff we already have here in our warehouse.
Yeah, right?
In anticipation of things
For the
becoming
tariffs
more
to become more
expensive.
expensive.
It's like, what?
It's insane. So it's just like, how do you juggle all of this? And that's why I go back to, like, it really comes down to how do you make a house affordable? It's got to start with, like, the land, because you know, with the stroke of a pen, you could cut a house $50,000, $60,000,
Right.
And those cities have to start helping out by saying, you know what, like, yeah, you know, our master plan calls for, you know, half-acre lots here, but if we can get 4 quarter-acre lots, you know, that actually helps improve affordability a little bit.
You just cut the land cost in half.
In half, yeah.
Right.
Because this is, I don't know, with budgets and maybe, you know, it goes up and down, lumber can go up and down, but a lot of stuff, once it's up, it stays up.
I mean, I've researched, I went haywire researching that during the COVID era, because I'm like, we got to be hitting a peak. And I was building a house during that time, which sucked.
I did the same thing.
Yeah, but I'm like, we got to be hitting a peak, and at some point there's got to be some reprieve. And you look over the past 30 years, there's never once been a reprieve. It's just, I mean, granted, there's more, you know, steep inclines of prices, but in general, it's never come down, commodity costs.
No, not at all. Not at all. And that's why I just don't know when it will happen. But I wanted to ask you, because you're in mortgages.
Yeah.
Why, and maybe this is a stupid question, but why hasn't, like, a 40-year mortgage become more popular? Because when I was doing mortgages, it felt like, and I don't know the statistics, so correct me if I'm wrong here, but it was like every 5 years, people either refinance or they move.
Yep.
And so people aren't generally paying their mortgages off. So, like, does it matter if it's 40 years or 30 years? Because by the time they refinance, they've added another 2 years. And they refinance again, they add another 2 years. And you're up to 40 years as it is. But from your perspective, is there ever going to be something outside of mortgage rates? Because I don't know that we'll ever see, you know, 2.75% mortgage rates ever again. You know, maybe you get down to the low 4s. I don't know.
Yeah.
But is there another way for mortgages to help kind of reprieve some of that inaffordability?
I mean, the 40-year mortgage is an obvious one, right? That's one that's like, well, duh, that makes sense. I don't know the answer to why. All I know is there is enough demand for a 30-year mortgage, and there is supply for a 30-year mortgage. So those that try to enter the market with 40, because there are some options, but when they try to enter the market with that, it's like the added risk of waiting 10 more years for the mortgage, or you got to realize if you amortize for 40 years now, that home, there's a higher likelihood of that home being underwater if values adjust, because you're paying even less towards the principal in the beginning, right? Dramatically less, 33% less, and it's already almost nothing towards the principal on a 30-year.
Right.
You know, so it might even tilt towards, like, I mean, it's just, I think that's the issue is where the money's at. They're probably looking at it like, okay, am I actually going to get my money back? Because sure,
So
I have
from a
an
lender perspective,
asset. Yeah. So for that reason, they charge higher rates or more fees to get the same rate, same difference. And when you look at it, you may as well just go a 30-year, because the payment is the same on a 30-year as it is the 40-year, or sometimes even lower, because the premium that the money is charging to give a 40-year mortgage is so high. Now, will that change? I don't know. I don't know if that requires, like, I don't know if it requires lifespans to adjust further, and expectation of capital to, you know, maybe the expectation of earning money on your investment expands just over decades, you know? So I don't know that it's a perfect scenario, because I don't even know how quickly it could come to the table. Like, why wouldn't it by now? This has been one of the toughest markets.
That's the question I ask, is I'm curious as to why people wouldn't jump on that, if it's true still, you know, that people are refinancing or moving every 5 years.
Absolutely true.
You know, so what would be the risk of having a 40-year mortgage to maybe get into a house? And
let's just run the numbers on it. So let's just say somebody's leaving in 5 years. I've got my amortization schedule here.
Such a mortgage guy.
Yeah. Let's just say it's a $500K mortgage, at a 7% rate for 30 years. So by the end of year one, you pay about $5,000 on the balance. So let's just say 5 years down the road, you've paid that balance down by a little less than $30,000 on a $500K mortgage.
5 years?
On a 30-year. So now if we say a 40-year.
Oh, that was in a 30-year. Okay.
30-year, yeah. So now on a 40-year, you've only paid that down by about $14,000.
Okay, so it's like half.
Yeah, so now you think about it. If people are selling in 5 years, they're actually, when you consider fees and commissions, they're underwater in 5 years. So that was my hunch as to why it's not viable. And I think I've pretty much now staked like a convincing claim on that's why. Because, you know, if the statistics say they're changing their mortgage every 4 to 7 years, and on a 40-year mortgage, they're underwater in 7 years, well, you have a toxic asset, you know, and I think that's probably the issue.
That would make sense then. Okay, well, there you go.
It's weird. I know. Well, I mean, I love that you asked the question because I've thought about it. I'm like, I would love it, but I'm like, why?
Yeah, it's just,
I've never thought about it.
It just seems so interesting. I'm just like, why? Yeah, because I was the same way. Like, if you're moving every 5 years, what does it matter if it's 40 or 30 or 60, whatever?
Right.
If it's going to make your payment lower and help you get into a house, would that be more beneficial in the long run? Start earning equity, but it makes sense you're not actually earning that much equity.
Right.
And you may actually be.
But I mean, to your point, you have home appreciation, and with a 40-year mortgage with affordability, because that we were assuming no appreciation. So,
right.
You know, we got to be thoughtful about that. But you also can't bank on it, and I don't think the money wants to bank on it.
No, yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. We'll see. I mean, the U.S. has the longest mortgage options of any nation,
yeah.
As it is, you know, so there's got to be some reason for it, but that's a good question.
Are you seeing like an uptick at all in like ARMs and things like that?
For sure.
So
especially
going that route?
Yeah, the crappy thing is lower down payment options. The ARMs are not great.
Right.
On FHA and VA, sometimes they can be outstanding options.
Right.
But so are the fixed. The jumbo territory is which frankly, a lot of the new construction, to your point, is unaffordable or jumbo.
Yeah, because
right?
what is jumbo in Utah now? 800 something?
806, 500, yeah,
806,
for most of the counties.
That's just like a normal house these days, right?
I mean, that's like, yeah, you can hardly even build one for that price nowadays, you know, unless it's a smaller, more dense house. But, yeah, it's does your home and auto insurance seem to go up every year without fail? Mine did too. I thought this was just the way the insurance industry worked until I found my friend Alan Johnson with American Family Insurance. After more than 15 years with the same insurance agent, he saved me over $3,000 per year when I switched. I refer all my family, friends, and clients to him, and their experience is similar. Great rates and a great experience. Call Alan for a free quote today at 801-708-2962. We're selling a bunch of ARMs on jumbo, and 20% down conventional. I would say at least half the time an ARM is better. On jumbo, probably 70% of the time.
70% of the time. Are they like 3-1 or 5-1 ARMs?
No, longer than that. We basically, you can do a 5-year ARM, and they're now, instead of /1, it's /6, so they adjust every 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Is been pretty typical now. You pretty much can't even find one that does it different than that.
Gotcha.
But we've been doing 7/6 ARMs for the most part, which is fixed for the first 7 years. After 7 years, adjusts every 6 months. But to your point earlier, we are focused, like we like those, and we are big advocates of those. As long as you can get a meaningful savings, you know, get a quarter, at minimum a quarter, probably like more like a 0.5% savings, then it makes sense, because within 7 years, you're for sure, statistically, it's like 99% likely you're going to be out of that mortgage within that time. So yeah. ARMs are a big deal.
I watched a video of yours the other day that I thought was really interesting that I think a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah.
Because like, so mortgages aren't like way sexy.
Right.
So unfortunately, but they're like so important, and there's so much you can do to get into a house. But you were talking about discount points and premium and things like that. And I haven't been following like rates and where par rate is and things like that. But I know a lot of people probably don't understand the, like, you know, if you take a higher rate, you get money, or you buy down a rate. But you were saying that 1 point right now is equal to $50,000 more in purchasing
buying
price?
power. Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how, frankly, that's how the big boy builders are maintaining their insane pace of sales.
Right.
Even though they've slowed down a bit, it's because they're buying those rates down and they can still sell the houses for the price they want, you know?
Yeah. Well, and that's, I mean, we've been doing the same thing. I mean, it's kind of the nature of the beast right now. And that's why, like, personally, I think, like, buying a house right now is, like, if you're in to buy a house or you're wanting to buy a house, like, I'd do it now.
100%. I agree. It's the best negotiating I've seen in my career, and we've been in about the same time, it sounds like, in the business. Have you seen negotiating better for buyers than this time right now?
No, absolutely not.
It's crazy,
I
right?
hesitate to tell what we're giving up, but like, to get houses done, I mean, you could walk in and you can, I'm not going to say name your price, but like you're saying, like these big builders and even myself in these big like developments that you're doing, you want to keep prices around the same, so you have appraisals that are coming in the same. And so, like, to keep a full price offer in, like, on the back doors, we're willing to give up a lot of stuff.
Right.
Basements, garage, or epoxy garages, landscapes, like $20,000.
Thousands and thousands of dollars. Yeah. So my question for you is this: on that point, so rates come down, affordability is not completely solved, but is very much solved with lower rates. Say they get down to 5 or something like that. That's going to be a very significant, meaningful benefit for buyers. Are builders going to hike margins because they feel like they've been sucked dry for, like, what is your opinion? I know you can't speak for everybody, but
well, it's hard because, like, you still gotta have your house appraised.
Right.
And I've had 2 houses where I've had people come in and be like, hey, I need this much in closing costs, so I'm going to offer you this much more on your appraisal. And then the appraiser comes in and says, yeah, it's not worth that. And so you got to redo it. And so, like, when you say hike up costs, I mean, you're still relevant to what the market's doing.
I guess, will builders still tolerate the lower margin, or do you think builders are going to demand what they feel is a more normalized margin? Or do you think it will re-normalize, and not only will rates come down, but prices will remain low because builders will have re-normalized to a lower margin? What do you think about that?
And maybe that might be the case. I mean, that's honestly a good question. I'd love to be, a future teller and know exactly what's going to happen.
What would you do?
That's a great question. So, like, my business model is I'm trying to make affordable houses for people. So I'm trying to keep them. I mean, I negotiate my ass off to try to get better prices so that I don't have to hike up stuff. And I think that's probably why I move a lot of houses, and I've been moving a lot of houses in this market.
Especially as a smaller builder, like you're not one of the nationals and you're still moving dozens of houses. That's a big deal.
And so like we've done it by trying to not make things unaffordable from our perspective, because like I said, I love building houses. And so, like, if I make small amounts of money, if I can make enough money to live, that's still cool for me.
Yeah. You're doing what you love.
I'd love to make a ton, but like, if I can do, like you said, what I love and make enough money to feed my family and do stuff like that's awesome for me.
Yeah.
I don't know where it goes. If rates come down, does the market flood with buyers who have been sitting on the sidelines?
I don't see any other solution to it.
Yeah. I mean, going in, so right now, going into the winter months, inventory is as high as it's been in some time. And so you've seen a lot of price reductions already on houses. I don't know if the feds come out and they drop rates, and they're not directly correlated. And I know a lot of people are, you talk to people and they're like, oh, well, the feds will come drop rates and then things will get better. And so they're sitting on their pockets, and that might not be the right move. And that's why I say, like, if you go back to 2021, I mean, I could tell you a story about, a couple. They were a young couple, 20 years old, or in their young 20s. They both software engineers just out of college. They had just gotten out of their college debt. They were living in their parents' basement. Just kind of, dreaming of a future, of a nice, cozy house, a family. Around 2021, and the pandemic had changed everything, right? Remote work had become the norm. Rates were at 2%. It was a golden ticket, and so they're thinking to themselves, this is our time. Let's do it. And they'd be going through Zillow, looking at these houses, envisioning a future with, a backyard, things like that. And so they were super optimistic, and they went to a lender. They got a pre-approved for a 2.8% interest rate, thinking we got a golden ticket, right? That's fantastic.
Yep.
And they went to a showing. It was a house that they loved, 4 bedrooms, had a nice backyard, 3rd-car garage. It was just perfect for what they wanted. And as they were walking through the open house, they heard, a realtor kind of whisper under breath, incoming bidding war. and had their realtor call them later that night. Hey, bad news, 10 offers have come in. They're all over asking price. They've all given up any contingencies on appraisal or waiving everything they can. So they lost the house, and like basically the next 10 months was just a frenzy of that same thing. They're coming in saying, hey, we don't care. We'll fix anything. We're going to come in overpriced, and they're still getting outbid by people who can.
Way too much risk.
Yep. Who can bring cash and stuff like that. And so fast forward to now, I mean, it's in my opinion, the best time to buy.
Yeah.
Come in, ask for what you need. Builders are trying to get rid of stuff.
And the rate, the only sacrifice you have today is the rate, but that's fixable.
But like you said, with discount points, like if you come in and you're like, hey, I need to be at this rate to make it work.
Yep.
Most of the time, the builder's gonna, at least from where I've been, has been trying to help people get into houses.
Absolutely.
Because I would
you got to keep people employed at worst case scenario. You got to keep your trades happy. Yeah, right? Exactly. You got to keep doing stuff.
Well, and that's part of the way that I negotiate. It's like, hey, I've got 10 houses, and I will give you all 10 of these houses, and we're going to move these 10 houses very fast, and I'll give you another 10 more if you can give me good pricing. And so that's how we've been able to kind of keep our houses nice, but more affordable. You go into some of these tract home builders, some of these national builders, and you got the tiny countertops.
Right.
You know, you close the cabinets and it feels like they're going to fall off.
Right.
You know, we got,
or they actually fall off.
Or they actually fall off. Yeah. You know, in our houses, we've still got the fatty countertops and
that's awesome.
And soft close drawers and cabinets
which from a livability, that's something you may not think about as a buyer walking through a design center. But when you're living in the home, that stuff matters.
It does.
Like in a big way.
Yep. Especially if you get kids, you know.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've had to go fix cabinets for people who, you know, their kid slammed it and fell off. It's like, oh, man.
So I have a question for you. This is one idea, one theory that we came up with several months back, which was this affordability crisis is not all the big bad builders or the big bad realtors or the big bad mortgage lenders or the terrible rates or any of this stuff. A lot of it has to do with the demands of home buyers today. Back in the day, you didn't even have a garage. You had a carport and you had like a 1,800 square foot house total on a nice piece of land, and that was where you raised your whole family, and you lived there for 30 years. Nowadays, like, you need minimum 2-car garage. It's got to be like multiple thousands of square feet. Everything has to be finished. You need a guest room. You need an office. You need a studio. You need a home gym. And it's like, how much of it is actually like, let's get real and get a starter home to create an asset, not get the perfect home. Yeah. To start out. Do you think that has something to do with it?
I think that it does. And, well, so to your point, there's something interesting in the development that I have. I keep saying in the development that I have, but we've found that we sell really well a 4-bedroom home that has an ability for 3 more bedrooms in the basement. And what's happening is people are coming in with multi-family members.
Oh.
Multi-generations are coming in. They're putting in walkout basements, and they're having...
Like in-laws?
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
Like
okay,
so parents are moving to the basement, or kids are moving into the basement. And I think that's how people are kind of affording things. Because I'm with you. So I grew up in a small house. It was like 1,500 square feet.
Right, same to me.
Yep. And
no garage?
Yeah.
Carport?
Yep. We had a carport. We did have a garage. But yeah, I mean, it felt big until I, went to Parkway Palisades and I saw what a big house was. So yeah, and it's interesting because I'll make YouTube videos and I try to go through like costs with people because I want people to see like, there's so many variables that are going into affordability. It's not just like, oh, home builders are bad or trust funds are picking stuff up and renting them, and that stuff is happening.
Right.
But there's so many other variables to it. But every time I'll post a video, we know our bread and butter is like a 2,600 square foot house, 1,900 square foot finished, and then the basement obviously can be finished, but 2,600 total. And people are just like, that's crazy big. And I'm like, that's weird because people are coming through it saying this is so small,
right?
And I'm like, we're like,
oh, you're saying people comment on your videos saying that that's a huge house.
People are like, oh, what is this, McMansions? You're building? No wonder they're so expensive. And I'm like, oh, well, it's not that big because people come walk through the house and they're like, oh, it would be great if it was, 600 square feet bigger and I could have a 3rd car garage on it and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, you've got people who maybe need to shift their perspective on what the
demands of the home buyers. It's like,
what's the American dream now?
Right.
And And maybe social media has something to do with that because you see all these giant, beautiful houses and people are making all this money and you're like, well, I want that, keeping up with the Joneses. And I don't know.
It is kind of crazy.
I don't know how to answer that question, but
it's interesting. I do think that home buyers are partially guilty.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. They come in, they want all these upgrades, and then they're confused as to why, the house is $200,000 more. And it's like, well, when you put heated floors in your bathroom, that's going to run you some costs.
Right.
So.
Right. Like, well, come on, it's only $1,000. It's like, yeah, well, that's $1,000, and you made 75 of those decisions.
Exactly, right? Yeah, you got to upgrade your tile. You gotta finish the basement. You got to epoxy the floor. You got LED lights and stuff like that. So
that's awesome.
It's crazy. I'm not sure where it goes from here. If rates go down, do prices rise, or does more inventory flood? Because I know one big thing we've been dealing with are like what they call golden handcuffs, where people are like, I'm not going to move because I got such a great rate and it makes sense.
The interesting thing about that idea, though, that because the counter argument to what you and I just said, which is a flood of home buyers and home prices rising, that's my belief. Mm-hmm. The counter to that is, well, a lot of these home buyers are going to be listing their homes, so we're going to have inventory skyrocket. And it's like, well, yeah, but they're trading. It's a 1-for-1. Mm-hmm. They're not going to sell the home unless they buy the home. So, like, that's a wash.
Right.
But there's a bunch of people that aren't homeowners now.
Right. That are trying to get in. But to play devil's advocate, is Utah getting to a point where it's so, I don't want to say overpriced, but housing prices are so high that people leave? Like, do you start seeing a net exodus?
Maybe, but we make, generally way more income than the national average.
That's true.
And we have way more economic lift coming than most states. There's a few other states similar to us, but like what we have coming over the next 30 years is like insane. It's unprecedented. We've never seen it in Utah. Mm-hmm. Yep. And so the opportunity, I think, is there. I don't know. You feel like at some point there is a tipping point where it's like, okay, it's just too expensive. But then again, maybe people are, you're getting people from other states, so maybe they'll drive from Santa Quin to Salt Lake for work, right? Because that's kind of a typical commute in other states, a couple hours.
Yeah. I mean, heck, you go to California, if you drive a mile, it takes you 4 hours anyway.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. So hopefully that doesn't happen. And it seems like infrastructure is starting to look better.
A little better, yeah.
Yeah. You can kind of see it happen.
On Mountain View now.
Yeah. So give an intro to who you are, what your company is, how they can reach you. I'm sure social media, you're big on YouTube.
Yeah. So my name is Josh Best. The company is called Countryside Homes. We do mostly, I want to say, starter to mid-sized homes. That's kind of our bread and butter, track stuff. Trying to help solve the affordability issue if the cities would play along with me. But as we've already discussed, that's kind of been a tough avenue. But yeah, so you can find, I'm online on YouTube. It's Joshua J. Best. On Instagram and all that stuff. Cool. Most of the stuff I put out is simply just trying to go through budgets and fees, crazy stuff like how we're paying, $12,000 for a water meter to come have a water meter set. And it's just like this is the stuff that's driving costs up where, do we really need to pay $12,000 to have a water meter set that maybe costs $1,000?
Right.
Just for the home buyer to also pay for water anyway. Right. So it's just, it feels like fees and cities are just kind of starting to milk builders for everything that they own. But yeah, so sorry, to go back to introduction. Yeah, so my name is Josh. Countryside Homes is the business. We've been doing it for about, I think my stepfather started doing it in 2009. Give or take.
Cool. Okay.
And then we've slowly just kind of grown. We do about 30-something houses a year.
So. And do you have a website?
We do have a website. It's called buildcountryside.com.
Built Countryside?
BUILD. Countryside.com.
Cool. We'll have Kira put this in the description.
Okay. Yep.
But that's really good. And I appreciate you being here. It's kind of cool that sounds like your passion and your mission is really create affordable housing.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. Like I said, I like to just build houses. I love being around houses. Growing up, when I was younger, and I say younger, like middle school and stuff like that, my mom, who also kind of has a housing. So this business is my family.
That's
cool.
So
it's my mom, my sister, me, and my stepfather. So there's just the four of us, and we make it work. We work a lot, but we make it work. And it's all kind of, we all have just a building passion. My mom and I used to sneak into houses, 10, 20 years ago. Seeing them be framed and stuff like that, just to walk through and kind of envision what was happening. That's how much fun. I love houses, which is so stupid, but
that's fun though.
But I love what I do, and I'm trying to make things more affordable, one house at a time. But it's definitely been a tough venture
For sure.
going forward. So.
Well, I appreciate you being here
Yeah,
and
no,
providing some insight.
I
it
love
was
it.
really
And
good.
I love what you guys are doing, and I wish more people. I mean, I wish mortgages was more sexy.
Yeah, me
that
too.
People would be, more passionate. It's so hard to make content about mortgages that people resonate with. Because
You're preaching to the dang choir,
yeah,
dude.
I feel you.
Every Friday is our weekly planning, and we get in arguments, kind of heated, passionate arguments, like what in the hell are we doing wrong? Because it's so hard to create consistent engagement.
Yeah.
But you're right,
Yeah.
it's just not a sexy thing.
It's not a sexy thing, but it's so important, and maybe that's where like school education is just failing. That we push doom scrolling for stupid videos as opposed to like things that actually help people.
For sure.
Because there's so much mortgage stuff that you can do that we probably could have talked for hours.
Yeah.
On things, I know the governor came out with something for new home buyers that, you can get assistance if it's a new construction home under a certain.
There's a bunch of grants.
Yeah.
Like down in Davis County, there's a huge grant up to like $50,000.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
That
Yeah,
people
there's
just
a
don't
lot of
know
options.
about. Yeah, they just don't know about it, and so I will definitely push you guys and
Thank you.
and throw people your way. And
Thank you.
I've enjoyed. I've been watching your videos, and I've
love
enjoyed all of them. I thought that last one you did was really great about discount points because I just don't think people understand kind of how it works. They're like, oh, rates are coming down. And it's like, well, you can have a down rate. You just got to pay for it.
Yep.
And you can do that right now because builders are willing to help.
Exactly.
So take advantage is
100%.
my thought. So.
For sure. Well, thanks for sharing that. And everybody, thanks for tuning in. You'll have all of Josh's contact information in the description. You're here, obviously, so you know where to find us, but please don't forget to subscribe, give the thumbs up, follow, comment. Let us know what you want to hear more of. We could have Josh back if you have something that we missed. Comment and let us know. But thank you all for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you for tuning in. For more industry insights, follow us on all platforms at Loans Elevated.
And to get in touch with our team, call or text 801-713-4000 or visit loanselevated.com.